Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night. We're here again at Casablanca here on Brady Street in Milwaukee, and we're going to be talking about Raw, SmackDown, and much more, including who's the #1 wrestler in the world. We have that and so much more coming up next, right here, right now, on a special edition of Primetime Friday Night.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report, Primetime TV, the longest-running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime here on a special Friday night. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius the Tiberius, the alleged backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore Hall of Famer hero. Yes. Here at Casablanca on Brady again. David, how the heck are you, buddy?
I've had one of the greatest weeks ever.
You know what?
Tommy Dreamer.
You know, speaking of all that,
an early Christmas present.
Speaking of all that, you think you got one over on the big guy. You think you got one over on Damian Nelson.
Ryback
well, you know what?
has nothing to do
As
with
you
it.
see, I'm in a great mood because, well, you know what? Before we do that, let's go back to that footage from last week and let's see the little bombshell that Tommy Dreamer tried to drop on me, on my show, in my town, in my place. Let's take a look at what he thinks he did.
Grassroots promotion. I went out there and I made a statement on the microphone.
You did?
And I said I will be bringing House of Hardcore to the Milwaukee area.
Yes.
And I know you have said you want to be a part of that.
I've been offered the opportunity, and I've signed a document that says that I will be a part of the commentary team for House of Hardcore, and I'm very excited. Do I get to work with Joey Styles?
Well, first, possibly. You need to sign this release. Just sign that release for me.
No problem.
And I would like to tell everyone that yes, I'm a man of my word.
September 3rd, 2nd.
House of Hardcore will be coming December 3rd. You are now a part of the show. Congratulations, you have signed the release. That is it.
Big time.
And, but the last show I was not happy with the way it ended. So, no, I wasn't happy. You know, it was just Greater Lakes Championship Wrestling has been a staple here for a long, long time in this community. And it's done because of interference by you. So,
Tommy,
excuse me, House of Hardcore is coming again December 3rd. And it's going to be Blizzard Brawl. We're going to take over that thing. But guess what? You are not going to be the commentator. You have actually...
Referee?
No.
Backstage?
I'm going to give the last ever GLCW match of all time. And you, sir, are going to be part of history. Because you, sir, will be with your crazy monster Abyss. And you, sir, will be in the last ever match. And your opponents will be Al Snow and David Hero. And guess what? House of Hardcore is not even going to recognize it. It's not sanctioned. It's the last ever match. And I've never had one of these matches at my show, and I'm not going to have it because...
I'm not a wrestler.
Well, guess what? You want to get involved. You want to have the end a show on a down note like you did. Well, now, guess what? The show, December 3rd, an unsanctioned, last ever GLCW match, will be inside a 15-foot-high steel cage. No interference for you. You and your buddy Abyss.
There is absolutely no chance. No, I'm not signing that. No.
You already did. Thank you.
What does it say?
Hey, welcome to Pro Wrestling.
Tommy.
Thank you all for watching, and I appreciate your guys, and I look forward to coming back here. I've had some amazing memories here, and we will see you all next week. December 3rd, House of Hardcore is coming, and it's going to be the best damn event you've ever seen.
I'm not a wrestler.
Yep, so there you saw it. Tommy Dreamer thinking he booked me in a wrestling match.
You signed, sealed, and delivered it.
Well, I went down on Monday morning and went down to see David Gruber at Gruber Law Offices and reviewed this little contract that y'all had presented to me to sign to be in a cage match with Abyss as my partner against you and Al Snow.
Yes.
Super at House of Hardcore presents Blizzard Brawl in December.
You were going to get a butt.
The key word there was were, because David Gruber told me, I made one call. It did it all because I am not actually contractually obligated, according to the contract he reviewed, to be in that matchup. So I am not a wrestler. I am not wrestling. You can keep your bitterness about you losing to Abyss last year because you couldn't hang, because you don't have the cojones, because you could not do it, and keep trying to get out of that and keep trying to wiggle your way back into the promoting business.
First of all, Jabroni, I've agreed that GLCW is dead and done. Tommy Dreamer just wants to have one more match. It's his show.
Well, Tommy Dreamer's not getting one more match.
Well, you know what? Tommy Dreamer has a lot more stuff to talk about. He sent us some tape.
I'm out of it. I don't care.
Hey,
oh, fine. I don't care what we're gonna. It's time for
roll it.
No, it's time for the big story. You can roll it later if you want. I'm in charge here. Remember?
We have time.
I'm in charge. Let's go to this week's big story, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what's interesting is every year wrestling fans clamor to a wrestling magazine that has been around for 26 years. That each year has brought us the annual list of their 500 top names in professional wrestling. And this year, one man graced the cover of the magazine as he placed at number 1, the number 1 wrestler in the world, the man who was endorsed several years ago, the man who a lot of you hate, the man who the wrestling media and the journalism community of professional wrestling has decided is the best in the world. That is number 1, Roman Reigns.
Remarkable that PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, went with Roman Reigns. I couldn't believe it because they're very internationally. I mean, they go with the international.
Everybody's
stars.
on the list.
Everybody, even Angel Armani made the list. Believe it or not, he was like I think 522. So just absolutely remarkable.
522 of 500.
Yeah.
Okay. So he didn't make the list.
Well, he made the other list. There's many lists.
The supplemental?
Yes. But I mean, you know what? If you think about it, he was a top guy all year. Main events all year. You know, draw a ton of money all year. It's the best. I guess it should be the best worker, not best wrestler. Best wrestler could have been somebody else. But for the guy that had Roman Reigns had a great year.
And those are the scoring parameters. Titles won, wins, losses, pay-per-view headlining events. I mean, you look back at whether you like him or not, whether you like where he's placed or not, the man headlined WrestleMania and beat Triple H at WrestleMania to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and you can't teach that.
But I'm very frustrated because we still haven't rolled the Tommy Dreamer footage yet.
No, we're not, because we're in the middle of a segment talking about Roman Reigns being the number 1 wrestler in the world according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated in the PWI 500. Other men in that top 10 list included Finn Balor.
Yes.
You know, the 190-pound Finn Balor that you hate.
What number was he?
He was number 2, I believe.
So he took Charlotte's spot.
Kevin Owens was number 6, I believe, which was smart. And this period only went through June 30th. So everything that's happened subsequently, I guess, sort of solidifies or validates the selections that this group made at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Do you still subscribe to that magazine?
I have not in a long time.
Here's what I want to talk about, though. Back in the day, remember when, before the internet, before things were spoiled and ruined and things of that nature, you went to the newsstand and you picked
magazines.
Your magazines, and that's the only information you got about the business.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated, you got the wrestler, you got ringside wrestling, you got inside wrestling.
Yep. And WWE Magazine, which, once Vince Russo got involved, started taking a bit of a shoot approach to the business. Yes. I miss those days.
Oh, the magazines were great because you get to go back and you got to see the arena reports from other areas to see what matches they got. And, of course, the kayfabe interviews that were not really kayfabe anything. They're all scripted. But it was a great way to see the other territories and what those guys were doing. That's how I learned about Tommy Rich and Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. And you learned about the guys in the Pacific Northwest and the Crockett's, and the Don Owenses in Japan and whatever else. It was great stuff.
And you know what? To that point, we had a discussion during the week about social media's influence on professional wrestling and how back in those days of the magazines, if you will, before the internet, before the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the whatever else is of the world, wrestlers lived their gimmick, if you will, even if their gimmick was themselves, i.e. Ric Flair. But you never saw behind the curtain, and I don't mean the politics behind the curtain, I mean their real life. Now, that's all you see on social media. And it's one of
the things I do not like about social media and pro wrestling, because now, back when Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, made his debut, you always saw him in a mansion, a multi-million-dollar mansion.
Whether he lived in it or not.
Yeah, you thought he did. Nowadays, you see the talents in their homes, which just might be a studio apartment. So it takes away the illusion that they're larger-than-life megastars making big money that they just live like everybody else.
The mystique, if
The
you will.
mystique is gone. Doesn't exist.
So how do you fix that? Is it fixable? Is it reparable?
You try to get the guys that do it to have them stop.
But the big company, WWE, of course, values that social media presence.
But you don't see the WWE talents doing that.
Do you not?
I don't believe
We've
so.
seen Heath Slater's living conditions.
But that's different. I mean, you know, like Kevin Owens, who should be the top bad guy in the company. But it's kind of hard to boo the top bad guy when he shoots out Instagrams or tweets of him and his kids and how much he loves his family. It makes you not want to boo the guy. You want to cheer him. He's a great dad.
Can he not have a family?
Of course, but I mean, kayfabe is dead in pro wrestling. It doesn't exist
Tommy Dreamer
anymore.
talked about that last week here on it was on Feedback Friday.
We talked about a lot of stuff here last week, stuff that you're not even want to talk about anymore.
But because he turned on me.
He did not.
Yeah, he
Tommy
came here under
Dreamer
certain conditions.
Is doing what is best for business.
He gave Jim Ross all the respect in the world on his podcast this week. I expect the same level of respect.
Well, you're no Jim Ross.
I didn't say I was. I just expect the same level of respect.
When I was talking to Tommy, I go, how was the work with Damien? He goes, it was real and it was fun, but it wasn't real fun.
You're just jealous because you were kicked off set, so that me, the broadcast journalist, could get to the bottom of the issues and try to have a real interview with him.
The bottom of the issues, which is now a steel cage match.
Look, I signed on.
Blizzard Brawl 12.
Stop. Collaborate. Listen. I signed on to do commentary at House of Hardcore in December in Milwaukee.
You obviously signed on.
I signed on. I read it. I signed on. I read that I was going to be a part of the show. I was going to be a commentator for the broadcast.
I'm confused on this because I don't even know where we are anymore because you're going off script. Tommy
Just
has
like
more
Tommy
stuff,
did last week.
Tommy has more stuff to talk about.
Fine. But I will say this. I am not wrestling a match in that cage with Dave Hero in December.
You're going to be fighting. And you know what happened with Randy Orton with Brock
You don't want me
Lesnar?
to. You really think you could, please, bro, you really think you want to step in a ring, in a cage at that, with this?
I have Al Snow.
All this pent
Al
up,
Snow.
ruthless aggression? You think
Easy,
you
Benoit.
want
How
some
did
of
that
this?
work out for that guy?
How did it work out for you last year at Blizzard Brawl? Because you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. You want to talk about it, we can talk about it. How did it work out for you last year at Blizzard Brawl? You lost 1, 2, 3, center of the ring.
Yeah.
You lost. You got pinned. You got beat. You're a loser. You are no longer promoting for GLCW.
I didn't think you'd be that guy. But that's okay. I mean, I get it. It's all gone in water under the bridge or over the dam, whatever you want to call it. But on December 3rd in Waukesha,
I'm not wrestling.
You're not. You're going to be fighting.
I'm not fighting. I'm not a fighter.
You got Abyss. You got your boy Abyss.
You know what? And we'd be fine. But I have no motivation, no reason, no incentive at all to step in a steel cage. You've seen this face.
It's yellow.
Can you imagine a
You're
scar
yellow.
on this face?
Well, there's going to be a few of them.
It's not going to happen.
Steel is very unforgiving.
It's not going to happen. It's just that simple.
So you'd
I
rather-
don't care what you and Tommy think. I don't care what tapes you have. I don't care what video you have. I don't care what you say.
Whoa, what do you mean tapes?
My attorney,
What tapes do you have out
David
there?
Gruber, told me that was not a legally binding contract. Therefore, I am not, will not,
All right.
cannot be a part of that wrestling
Can we
matchup
talk about the other
at
stuff
House of
coming
Hardcore.
up? Tommy has more stuff to talk about. He has more talent to announce.
Fine, let him.
More matches.
Fine, you got tape? Then fine, go right ahead.
And roll it.
Hey guys, David, man, I'm so sorry. Last week I got so excited. I forgot to announce who else is going to be there representing House of Hardcore. Well, we know you guys are in a really awesome type of match. First time steel cage. So excited for it. I know your partner over here is sweating to death because of it. Anyway, myself, the innovator of violence, will be there. The beautiful Mickey James. She's hardcore country. Colt Cabana. And a whole slew of other people. I'm in constant negotiations to get the best talent, especially for the first time ever coming to a land so rich in wrestling history. Trust me, this show is going to be off the charts. I want to hit my largest attendance record in the United States. Milwaukee, I love you. Keep on going to houseofhardcore.net. Keep on tuning into this show. On December 3rd, it is going to be the best show because you know what? We're going to go a little old school. We may go a little extreme, but we are definitely going to go hardcore.
The Soder family thought they'd take a road trip this summer. A little fun, a little sun. What could possibly go wrong? Even under the best driving conditions, semi-trucks can still be dangerous. The results of being in a wreck with 40 tons of steel and speed can be catastrophic. And it only gets worse when you don't have Gruber Law Offices on your side. If you or a loved one has been injured by a semi-truck, call Gruber Law Offices now. One call, that's all.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time Saturday night, here from Casablanca on Brady. Damian Nelson, alongside that guy, and we are here on a special Friday edition of Primetime.
Do you realize how long it will take you to get out of this match if we go to court? The day will come and go, and you'll already have been through a cage. Mickey James is going to be there, Colt Cabana, your buddy Abyss, Alston. The list of names is going to be ridiculous. It should be the biggest Blizzard Brawl of all time. And bro,
Blizzard Brawl's done. How could it be the biggest Blizzard Brawl of all time?
It's House of Hardcore presents Blizzard Brawl.
Do you have any honor? Do you have any integrity? Do you have any ethics?
Are
you a man of your word? Because you lost. You lost. I am not wrestling. You lost.
It's a
case
fight.
Closed. I am not fighting. You lost. Case closed. Game over. Close the door. I'm done. I'm not fighting at House of Hardcore.
Okay.
I am not a wrestler.
Okay. No, you're not.
Broadcast journalist.
And you're barely that. You have a chance to be famous.
Let's go to this week's Raw report, ladies and gentlemen. And WWE Raw this past Monday night kicked off with the celebration of the new WWE Champion, Universal Champion, Kevin Owens. Now, before that, we saw some conversation earlier in the day, quote unquote, between Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley, where Stephanie was coordinating the celebration, much to Mick Foley's disagreement. Mick Foley confronting Stephanie, asking how she could let what happened the prior week happen, meaning Triple H, her husband, get involved in the matchup. Stephanie, of course, denied it. Mick Foley didn't believe her, but then got to a point of believability at the end of the segment before the kickoff of the Owen celebration. And I found this to be a tremendous dynamic between Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley, because you gotta believe she knew. But you gotta believe Foley believes she didn't know. But you gotta believe she had to know, and if she did know, what are her motives? If she didn't know, what are the ramifications? If she's in cahoots, what is the end game? I love this unknown dynamic between Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon.
First of all, Stephanie is sleeping with her husband.
I hope she is.
Mick Foley.
Well, perhaps
so she knows everything. There's pillow talk. Are you insinuating that Stephanie McMahon cheated?
Husbands and wives don't tell each other everything. We know this.
How many husbands and wives have you had?
I've never been married.
Well, all right then. How would you know?
I have heard stories.
Oh, there's lots of stories. Well, I mean, it depends on where you wind up at 3 o'clock in the morning, as if you tell them or not. But you got to believe that Stephanie and Triple H are in on this together, because they are the authority.
So if they are, what's the end game? If they are in cahoots, if they are colluding, if you will.
What they're doing is they're going to make it so that Triple H gets
I think someone broke a window.
And they're fired. I think Triple H is going to wind up in a program eventually with Seth Rollins. That's where this whole thing is heading. Fair to assume? And then Roman Reigns can go into a program with Kevin Owens, which will then just keep him warm until Finn Balor comes back. But that's what it really is. I mean, right now the roster is so thin on both brands. They need it is. It's thin.
Thin how? Thin at the top? Yes.
Yes.
Thin overall? I wouldn't say so.
But they need more top main event guys. So Triple H will then go into the program with Seth Rollins to keep him busy.
So if they're not in cahoots, colluding,
they are.
What is the end game? What if they're not, though? Where does that go?
Stephanie and Triple H are so much better together than apart.
But what if they're not?
Well, I don't know, because I can't process that.
So perhaps it goes to Triple H and Stephanie feuding, if you will. The authority explodes.
No.
And Triple H, maybe he wants control of Raw. Maybe he's a little upset at some of the jabs that people have been taking at NXT lately, including Michael Cole on Raw this past Monday night. Maybe Triple H wants his NXT boys.
Jab he took?
Maybe Triple H wants his NXT boys. He made fun of Owens and his history in NXT, saying it didn't mean anything. Maybe Triple H wants his boys, his NXT boys, to be on top.
But that would be
WWE.
Seth Rollins also.
Seth Rollins is not identified today.
He was
I don't
the
think.
first NXT champion.
You're absolutely right, but I don't think he's identified today as an NXT guy. Owens is, Zayn is, Balor is, Bailey is. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's defined as one of those guys right now. You're absolutely right. His history takes him back there, but he's not that guy. Plus, he was aligned with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon for 2 years, and that got him what it got him. But the key point of all this is it is a deeply intriguing dynamic between both Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley, and maybe they're going to push Mick out, and the Authority takes control again.
I don't see that happening because I need the good cop, bad cop, and Mick is a great good cop. Stephanie goes back and forth way too much. You don't know if she's the bad girl or the good girl.
A bit of a tweener?
Worse than you at that. Always going back and
I'm
forth.
leaner, I'm meaner, but I ain't no in-betweener.
Okay, that sounds funny, but I'll take your word for it. It's going to be interesting to see how Kevin Owens is perceived. Is he going to be a paper champion, or is he going to beat guys? Is he going to be a cowardly champion that gets
He'd be great
by?
at it.
I mean, with Triple H in his corner, I can see a lot of that happening.
Is that story played? Did it play out with Seth Rollins?
No, because Seth Rollins was beating people. Seth Rollins won. He cashed in and won his first title. Kevin Owens didn't.
So the Owens celebration, if you will, was interrupted by Seth Rollins, who then, after attacking Kevin Owens, was suspended by Stephanie McMahon, and the dynamic continued between her and Foley as Stephanie was exiting the ring. Foley said, "No, he's not," in reference to the suspension, and then actually made the main event matchup for the Clash of Champions in 2 weeks, being Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Universal Championship. Now that would change by the end of the night, as an absent all night long Roman Reigns would show up during the main event matchup between Owens and Sami Zayn, and then Mick Foley would put Rollins in an opportunity to be a third man in that matchup as Clash of Champions. Reigns, sorry about that. That third man at Clash of Champions, and if in a match next week, it's Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. If Roman Reigns beats Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns is the third man in that championship matchup at Clash of Champions. Now, you got to imagine it's going to go to that three-way match.
Absolutely not.
Not?
No way.
Okay. So why tease us? Why do that 2 weeks out?
It's just a way to keep top matches on Raw. I believe Jericho gets involved and costs Reigns that match.
But here's what was also interesting. Triple H was absent. No explanation from Triple H, no reasoning from Triple H. I think Kevin Owens tried a little bit, but did we deserve that? Because
No,
since
not
the
yet.
door's
No,
still open,
no.
then why doesn't Triple H just help Owens again at Clash of Champions?
Well, he probably will. But it'll be Seth Rollins against Kevin Owens, one-on-one. You can't keep throwing Reigns in all these three ways.
No, I'm off of Reigns. I'm talking about Triple H.
Right.
If he's not corrected, if you will, for his intervention in the matchup which gave Kevin Owens a championship, what's stopping him from interfering in the matchup at Clash of Champions, whether it's a two-man or a three-man match?
He will get involved in that match.
So should they have explained it? Should they have told us that Triple H
No,
is
it's a
barred,
nice
banned?
slow build, slow burn. Let it build up and become bigger than what it is. Don't show the hand right away.
Here's what's good, though. It's solid build to Clash of Champions on
Yes.
September 21st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, something
There's
like that.
so many pay-per-views coming up. I can't keep track anymore.
Including one this Sunday night, which is why PrimeTime is coming to you here on Friday night in place of Feedback Friday, because tomorrow night we bring you Be the Booker as a standalone show, Be the Booker for WWE Backlash, which is interesting. That match, or that event headlined by AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose
Love
for the
it.
WWE
I can't wait for that.
Heavyweight Championship. That tomorrow night in a special Be the Booker here from the Pro Wrestling Report. But more discussion on WWE Raw this past Monday night as Bayley gets a huge pinfall victory over the women's champion, Charlotte.
They are just... Bayley's getting lots of big victories.
She is.
Very quick out of the chute. You know what? I don't understand why they make the NXT talents, I won't call them kids.
Oh,
talents.
you've turned a corner.
Well, because you get pissy.
I don't get pissy,
You know,
I just make
and
a
it's
point.
just like, why don't they show that these NXT kids talents struggle a little bit when they get to the main roster?
Why would they struggle?
Because they're like rookies. It's
WWE rookies, there's some validity to that, yes.
So they should trip and fall a little bit and not start beating top people. They should not be defeating the top champions right off the bat. Think about it. Bayley comes in and she beats Charlotte. Finn Balor comes in, he defeats Rusev, Reigns, and Rollins. There's no grading curve. There's no way of getting progressively better.
Was NXT not their grading curve?
Yeah, but it's still, it's like you get to the top at NXT, then you got to start at the bottom. It's like going from high school to college. Yeah, you can be the star football quarterback in high school, but then when you go to, off to college, you got to start at the bottom again.
But if you make a star in NXT, as you did with Finn Balor, as you did with Seth Rollins, as you did with Roman Reigns, as you did with Dean Ambrose, as you did with Bayley, how is it that is not enough validation for them to come up to the main?
It's because a lot of people on the main roster haven't seen them yet.
A lot of what?
A lot of the fans that are watching Raw, they don't get to see NXT all the time.
Okay, but many do.
Right, but it's only of 3.5 million people that watch Raw, only 1.8 million can watch NXT.
Do you know for a while, after SummerSlam and NXT in Brooklyn, up until the end of the week, more people had watched NXT than SummerSlam itself?
I'm sure, because I heard it was a better show.
Ultimately, SummerSlam did get more viewers on the WWE Network, but I think you're viewing NXT as some indie promotion down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
I am viewing it as it's where the guys learn their craft, they cut their teeth, and you can't go.
And they become stars.
You can't go from AA ball to the majors and hit grand slam home runs on your first at bats.
If they play a good game, they could. That is possible. They could come up from the minors to the majors and hit a grand slam on their first bat.
I believe in psychology, in theory, and building something.
So Bayley wasn't built?
No.
Finn Balor wasn't built?
Not on Raw, no.
Kevin Owens wasn't built?
Owens was slowly, but he
had a longer time before he had gold.
His first match comes in, he beats John Cena. So everyone that comes in from NXT that's not a Neville or an Ascension is beating top guys.
So would you rather them come up and be a minor league, bush league talent?
No, I would rather.
And then build their way up, or come in and be something special and make a splash in the company.
I would like them to be something special, but come up short. And then get the fans behind them to cheer them, to want to see them do better so they can climb that mountain and do something.
Another one of those stars who came up from NXT and became a big star is Sasha Banks, who came back on Raw this past Monday night. Sasha Banks said she had bad news. However, her bad news would be revealed to be for Charlotte after she took the boots to Dana Brooke, who came out to take notes, if you will. She then said that, well, she's back. She's been medically cleared to perform again, and she will do so at Clash of Champions against Charlotte for the Women's Championship.
It's great for Sasha Banks. Hopefully she can stay healthy. I mean, that's who the fans love. They adore her. And I think you're eventually going to be heading towards a Sasha Banks versus Bayley showdown. I think Charlotte is slowly going to drop from that number 2 draft pick further down the line. Wasted pick.
Bo Dallas. Believe in Bo.
Who would have thought a guy that gets arrested for being drunk on an air?
He didn't get arrested. He just got kicked off the plane.
Okay, kicked
he was
off
not
the
arrested.
plane.
Nor was that other guy in an airport incident recently. He was not arrested.
No, but wow. He's being rewarded. Who would have?
Several days later. It was a bit unique.
That never happens.
There was reports, actually, I think video as well. Bo Dallas was drunk on a plane. As Ron White would say, oh, hey, I wasn't drunk in public. I was drunk in a bar. Arrest them. Was drunk on a plane, was removed from that flight because he was apparently drunk and served no penalties legally as far as that's concerned. But back, and he got a jobber this past Monday night.
Yeah, I like bringing back some of the enhancement talents. And here's why, because when you keep beating the Jinder Mahals every week.
Jinder Mahal?
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder.
Then they become that enhancement talent.
We talked about this last week, and you actually said you wanted the enhancement talent to continue. People to continue destroying enhancement talent. That was interesting. Both Braun Strowman and Nia Jax had a little bit of offense shown from their enhancement talents this past Monday night.
Sin Cara is not enhancement talent anymore.
I think he might be.
Why? Because he is a luchador?
No, because he is irrelevant.
Because he wears a mask?
No, because he's irrelevant.
Because he's Mexican.
That's the last time Sin Cara has performed on a pay-per-view event, special event. Yep, he's irrelevant. He's irrelevant. On the pre-show?
No, he was in the IC title match, remember?
I don't think he was. If he was, I forgot. Nobody cares. But Bo Dallas gets a jobber. Nia Jax, that one led to a story, though, because her enhancement talent was friends with Alicia Fox, who congratulated, which WWE showed on television.
Great. Foxy was great, wasn't she?
And I don't think she was at all, actually.
What?
Come back and talk this over like a woman.
How she like?
Let's talk this out like women.
How she snapped a little bit.
Women never talk it out.
They talk all the time. They never stop talking. You don't know this?
Does this lead to the decimation of Alicia Fox by Nia Jax?
No, I think I think that Foxy won't get past Nia Jax, but she won't be destroyed by her though either.
So Nia Jax, should she also be climbing the ladder and not come right up from NXT and be a star?
She has been. She is
Against
climbing.
who?
Slowly building
She's
her way
climbing
up.
a step ladder.
Okay, it's better than being force-fed. Put a rocket on their back, straight to the top.
Mm-hmm. So if they shouldn't do that for the NXT talents, who should they ever do that for? Because they have to.
AJ Styles didn't get that treatment.
I think he did.
No, he didn't.
I think he absolutely did.
He had a great showing at the Rumble.
Uh-huh.
Then he lost to Chris Jericho.
And then he beat Chris Jericho.
At Mania.
Uh-huh.
But he had to recut his teeth all over again. Lost to John Cena.
Speaking of losing, folks, a surprise tag team loss this past Monday night as the team of Enzo and Cass suffered defeat.
Enzo Namore?
Suffered defeat, that is his full name. Suffered defeat at the hands of Primo and Epico. Bit of a surprise there.
I think they got the heat back for Sin Cara.
I'm sorry?
They got Sin Cara's heat back.
How?
Well, because Sin Cara lost to Braun Strowman, so the Carlitos got over on Enzo and Big Cass.
They are Primo and Epico, they are not the Carlitos.
I think they'd get them over as the Carlitos. Don't you?
Well, what wasn't over this past Monday night on Raw was that brutal segment between the club, the old day, the new day, the future new day, whatever it was. Those are 15 minutes I will never get back.
Down the club. Gallows and Anderson at this rate never should have left Japan.
Is this what's going on here?
They are making them the Bushwhackers.
But why? Why not take this dominant, powerful tag team of Gallows and Anderson and make them a dominant, powerful tag team in the division?
They are stripping them down, and then they're going to try to refurbish them into something else. And it's just too bad.
But they didn't do that when they first came in. When they first came in, they were who they were.
You have to wonder if Vince sees Festus every time he looks at Gallows.
Well, there are reports that he doesn't remember him being there as Festus.
Come on.
There are reports out there.
Is that Eisenberg or LeBar saying that stuff?
I still don't know this LeBar guy you talk about. I know Eisenberg. He's one of my closest friends, but...
No?
LeBar?
The Barbarian?
Never heard of him.
Gotcha. He's a Pittsburgh guy.
Anyways, so perhaps this is being done because New Day is a bit of a comedy act.
Yes.
And to keep the whole thing a comedy act, because New Day tried to get serious with the Wyatts, that went nowhere. To keep the whole thing a comedy act.
You couldn't take that serious when the New Day comes out in blue jeans and wife beaters.
In a field in the South.
Yeah, in their pickup truck. When you see what they wear every week on TV.
Sheamus gets another win over Cesaro this past Monday night, the back injury being the storyline there. However, on Wednesday in London at a WWE live event, Cesaro would get his first win. The series now 3-1.
What does that tell you when they're now doing the matches at house shows that the fans don't care?
No, I think it's great. Why not carry a TV story onto house shows so that you get more people?
Well, you do that, but obviously the 7 matches don't mean nearly as much right now.
It's 7 matches. 7 weeks straight of TV matches between those two?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's smart.
And they already had 2 weeks prior to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's smart.
Why? Is it because Sheamus is a ginger?
No, it's because the same match week after week after week with no prize at the end. Why are they even having a best-of-7 series?
Well,
because at the end of the day, nobody gets anything out of it.
How many times have we seen the same matches before on Raw?
Yeah, but they have not focused on the fact that they are the same matches time and time again.
It's like, what is that noise?
I'm focused on doing this show, so I don't hear anything else, David Hero.
I'm going to tell someone to be quiet pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh, is it Tommy Dreamer calling you in your little earphone there?
Well, no, Tommy, we've already spoken.
You know, he's banned from this show, by the way.
How can he be banned?
Because I'm in charge. And when you hoodwink me, when you try to swerve me.
You said hoodwinked? What does that mean?
When you try to swerve me, you lose your opportunity, your privilege, if you will. You're buried and put back in your place.
Oh, you're going to get buried on December 3rd.
Dude, listen.
You know what I noticed is after the announcement was, you went back into last week's show and messed with my microphone and lowered my volume so my super friends could not hear my wisdom.
I'm that petty. I'm that small-minded that I did that. Sure.
How else did that happen?
I don't know. When you turn your microphone off so that you can make this little story up so you can try to convince me to step into a cage match, which I will not do. Let me make that clear. No cage match. Not going to happen, brother.
Here's the thing, bro Cephas. How can you speak intelligently about a sport if you've never participated in it?
I've been in several matches.
Which ones?
I don't have to talk about them here. I've been in several wrestling matches.
Oh, the Kevin Thorne debacle from a few years ago?
All worked out for me, didn't it?
No. You wound up...
At the end, it all worked out for me, didn't it?
No.
Who took care of Kevin Thorne at last year's Blizzard Brawl in his matchup against Ken Anderson? This guy. Who took care of you during the matchup against Abyss at Blizzard Brawl last year? This guy. Who's not going to be in a cage match this year at House of Hardcore? This guy. That's this week's Raw Report, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we take a look back at the Tuesday Night Delight that was SmackDown. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, PrimeTime Saturday night, Friday night, actually. We're here on a special Friday night from Casablanca on Brady, as you see there behind us. This is where magic happens, David Hero, back at the bar.
Believe me, I've been here many times and I've seen magic.
Matter of fact, the bartender's taking a break right now, but he provided me with a treat, some Irish delight, if you will.
Really?
Triple distilled, some of the best whiskey in the world, Jameson Irish whiskey.
That's why you're talking
with some
so
ginger
much
ale.
nonsense tonight.
Haven't drank any of it.
It looks like there's a little...
I'm a professional. I'm on air. Anyways, it is time for this week's SmackDown Report, ladies and gentlemen. The Tuesday night live show this past week came off as a bit of a thud, actually, in my opinion, but it did have some things worth talking about.
It did seem kabuki-ish, didn't it?
The opening, the women, and the six women's matchup, all combined, came off a bit, as you say, great kabuki-ish. Here's the thing. I'm not sure the female division on SmackDown has my interest. I love Naomi. I love Naomi. I think she's one of the best things right now.
I think Becky Lynch has great charisma.
She does, but she's not
Nikki
going over
Bella
very well.
is still great as far as I'm concerned, but I am not getting a vibe or a feel from Carmella.
Who pinned Nikki Bella
when
in that
she
six-women tag
came
match.
out for her entrance, it was like
She's still got no music, right?
No, she does. Nobody cared. She should not be a heel. She should be the baby face. Who cares if she has...
because she came from NXT.
Who cares if she had... Another one of the NXT kids going
Kids.
straight to the top.
I thought you weren't calling them kids anymore.
Well, she's younger. She should have been a babyface, and who cares if she has the same shtick as Enzo and Cass? That's how she got over down there.
She was paired with them.
Yeah.
Right? And you actually think she'd be better off still paired with them?
Absolutely.
Look,
because nobody cares about her as a heel.
We're talking about SmackDown. We're talking about the woman. We're talking about Carmella. But is it time to? Do you want to have a deeper discussion about Enzo and Cass, David Hero? Let me ask you this. So Cass was in the four-way matchup for the championship last week on Raw. This week wasn't mentioned. He loses to the Tito Santanas. What'd you call them?
The Carlitos.
The Carlitos. I'm sorry. Enzo and Cass have a great shtick, right?
Yes.
They're over like Grover, if you will.
Yes.
But what happens once they step in the ring?
Do you know what? I want everyone to do this, even you as well. You watch what they do in every match. They beat up Enzo, hot tag to Cass. Cass comes in and does the same fired up comeback in every single match. It never changes. It is so cookie cutter.
But didn't that work for so many years in tag team matchups?
But
the formula, if
the
you will?
guys would change it up. I mean, they would do different things. I mean, it is the exact same moveset every single time. Change it up a little bit.
Fans love them.
They do, but you know what? Like, eventually it's going to get old.
Let's talk about that matchup at SummerSlam. We talked about it on this program. That match it wasn't a bad match.
It was clumsy.
But it was a clumsy match. Absolutely it was.
But here's the thing. You got a guy like Jericho who's not going to give a lot to those guys.
What? He does nothing but give, does Chris Jericho.
But he didn't give them a whole lot.
Conspiracy theorist.
No. I love Owens and Jericho together.
They are great together.
They remind me of Bob Orton and Don Morocco when they were a tag team. The Tank and the Technician.
Back to Carmella, though, her getting the pin on Nikki Bella this past Tuesday night. What does it mean for the championship matchup this Sunday at Backlash?
Well, I don't want to get away from Be the Booker.
Not asking who's going to win necessarily, but does it elevate her possibility of winning in the matchup?
because she got to beat Nikki. But I just think that match is going to be very clunky. Because you have too many. You have Carmella and you have Alexa, who are younger, newer. You know, you have Nikki that's going to be a little gun shy with her neck. You know, and how many times can we see Becky and Natty go at it? You know, it's going to be an interesting match. I think their 6-man tag or 8-man tag, whatever it was on SmackDown, went way too long, and people lost interest.
Perhaps they did. And speaking of losing interest, I am, again, a huge supporter of Dolph Ziggler. He's been endorsed for years. However, he lost at SummerSlam, and ever since then, as he's now in this program with The Miz, he's been talking about how he has to find his way, how he has to get better, how he has to continue to go out there and deliver, how he has to prove to himself, prove to the fans, prove to the company that he is worthy.
Find his way, huh?
Find his way, but
he should probably find God. That helps everybody find their way.
I don't see the end unless he beats The Miz.
Can
and we'll talk about that tomorrow on Be the Booker.
Ziggler comes out in altar boy robe?
But I am sick and tired at this point now of hearing the Ziggler story.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
He was on commentary during the match between The Miz and Apollo Crews this past Tuesday, which was a great match, by the way.
Okay. Apollo Crews must not be one of Triple H's boys.
Meaning?
He loses every week.
But he's on TV.
To The Miz. Clean.
Oh, to The Miz. You who just a couple of weeks ago on this broadcast, on this program, talked about how great The Miz was lately.
He's been great lately, but I mean, there's no way he should be beating Apollo Crews like that. It's amazing.
I think Apollo Crews gave him a run for his money this past Tuesday night. He beat him at SummerSlam handedly, absolutely.
And he beat him handily again on Tuesday. Apollo Crews is counting more lights than anything right now.
Here's what was great, though. When the championship was left in the ring and Ziggler went in the ring and picked it up, and The Miz sent Maurice in the ring to get it. Brilliant.
No,
Total heel move.
It's
just
Macho Man Elizabeth right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good stuff, good stuff. But how much longer can we go through this Ziggler story if he doesn't win?
I've already tuned out of it.
Is it because of his size?
No, it's because it's played out and old.
What is not played out and old are the Usos, especially as quote-unquote good guys, but those days are over. This past Tuesday night on SmackDown, the Usos turned heel as they attacked the American Alpha after the American Alpha beat them rapidly in the tag team tournament matchup. Alpha now out of the matchup on Sunday as a result of that attack, and the Usos appearing with Renee Young saying they're done trying to pander to the fans, and they're now going to go out and win it. Usos now on the dark side.
They should call themselves the SST, the Samoan SWAT Team Part 3.
Didn't that exist?
Yeah, that was their father and uncle, Rikishi and the Tonga Kid. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that would be great. Or the Samoan Savages. I mean, they are no longer Usos. They are now beating people up. They got a vicious streak in them. And they're my favorites to win at Backlash, the tag titles.
Interesting. Oh, preview of Be the Booker tomorrow night, right here on our YouTube channel and on Fight TV.
We got to tease them a little bit. I mean, you don't tease anybody.
Speaking of a tease, though, we found out that Kurt Hawkins is going to be making his return to SmackDown
after 6 weeks of
next week
of vignettes.
You know that what is it? He's not afraid of ghosts. Ghosts are afraid of him.
Yes. Kurt Hawkins was at Blizzard Brawl last year.
Not only was he at Blizzard Brawl, he was at the Shenanigans party last year, which, by the way, Shenanigans, Orlando.
Yes.
Tickets go on sale next week for that big event featuring
already
Kevin Nash.
Is that
hosted
time
by
of
Kevin
year?
Nash. Shenanigans Orlando goes on sale next week at PWRshow.com. And remember, it sold out weeks in advance of the event last year.
Yeah.
So get in where you fit in. It's going to be Friday night, March 31st on International Drive, just down the road from WrestleCon, just down the road from Universal, just down the road from downtown Orlando, the Citrus Bowl. In the center of the world in Orlando will be Shenanigans Orlando.
I can't wait. Last year was going to be, it'll be tough. Last year was tough
an overwhelming success. And
It was.
It's a great night.
Yes, it was.
It was a great night.
Yes. Who knew?
But with that, we also had some interaction at the end of the show between Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles. Now, I've turned the corner on Dean Ambrose, and I consider him worthy of being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. AJ Styles is a tremendous talent. However, I'm not feeling Ambrose as of late.
You know what? Ambrose lost his fire this week. He
just went out there and talked fast.
He wasn't as convincing. He wasn't believable. AJ Styles looked like a bigger star than he did this week on SmackDown.
Is AJ Styles a bigger star than he is?
I think he is.
Wait, let me rephrase that question. Has AJ Styles become a bigger star than he was?
Absolutely.
I think that's a more fair assessment.
Yeah.
Interested to hear what you say is going to happen on Sunday between those two at Backlash and be the booker.
There's no question.
But SmackDown this week, we did Battle of the Brands on Thursday. David Hero, SmackDown took the win from the fans after Raw took it last week, 70% to 30%.
I'll be honest, for me, in my opinion, that was a coin flip. It could have gone either way. I thought both shows were uneventful.
They were, and it was interesting because SmackDown, being the go-home show for their Backlash show on Sunday, I don't know if it effectively over the course of those 2 hours put
any about go-home shows
in the
anymore.
seats.
Because they're not trying to sell $55 pay-per-views anymore.
Well, but they are trying to sell network subscriptions as rapidly as they were selling pay-per-views. You saw the new promotions,
but now
commercials
you're
for
getting
the
NXT
network
every week, and you're getting a Raw special and a SmackDown special every
2
month.
weeks. Mm-hmm.
You're gold.
If you subscribe to the network, which they still want to grow. Mm-hmm. So I think they're aggressively courting network subscriptions as they are pay-per-view buys.
And that's why they did the brand split to have more events on
They now have
network.
19 annually versus 12, so they haven't actually gone up to 24, doing 2 per month. Because it's actually smart. If you've seen the schedule, they've got gaps between the main events, the major events, if you will. There's a gap between Hell in a Cell, I believe it is, and Survivor Series, a gap between TLC, I think it is, and the Royal Rumble, so that they can do whatever they're going to do. Maybe it's like, as Tommy Dreamer said last week here on this program, that they're going to do more cross-branded stuff on those main shows.
Tommy Dreamer agreed with 97.5% of everything I talked about.
On the tape you watched, which was cut up and was edited by Roger Ailes of Fox News, in reality what he did was he agreed with maybe about 52% of what you were doing and agreed with about 48% of what I was saying.
I only mentioned 63% of what I want to talk about.
But he only agreed with 48% of what I was saying and 52% of what you were saying.
Yeah, so
if you actually walk and take check marks, tick marks, he didn't agree that Finn Balor was too small, because you keep saying that and making that point.
Okay, but he did agree that the Demon King...
Why are we even talking about Tommy Dreamer?
Because he's a good, close, personal, longtime super friend.
Folks, that is this week's WWE SmackDown report. When we come back, it's the final leg of the Pro Wrestling Report journey for this week's hot news and DOOHS.
At Gruber Law Offices, we understand that when you've been injured, life is tough. That's why we offer so many services for free. First call, free. First consultation, free. Stuck at home or in the hospital? We'll come to you for free. We'll deal with the insurance company for you and get you the help you need. Call Gruber Law Offices now. We don't get paid until you do, and your first consultation is always free.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime on a very special night, Friday night, David Hero. It's Friday night Primetime.
Well, and I appreciate you doing this for me because, tomorrow I have to be traveling. I have a wedding in Joliet, Illinois. Tony Bunicor, you may know him as Tony Scarpone. Al and I are going to be marrying him and his fiancée,
Al and you are going to be marrying him and
Well,
his
we're not
fiancée.
marrying them. We're doing the ceremony. The wedding
What's
ceremony.
Al's role going to be? Is he the flower boy?
No. Al and I are both joint doing the ceremony together.
Why do you have to do it together? You can't carry your own weight? You need his assistance
because
as well?
we wanted
Like
to make,
you need him at that House of Hardcore match is not going to happen?
We wanted to make it special. And then I'll be on my way to, I'm doing another wedding.
Two
officiating.
in one
Yeah.
weekend? Wait a minute. Firstly, I'm not sure the entire audience out there knows that somehow or another you became...
I'm an ordained minister. I can bless everybody.
That is one of the most troubling things I've heard in years.
Why?
It is one of the most troubling things I've heard in years. That's all I'm saying. You were saying.
And then I get to go down to Pensacola, Florida. I get to officiate
Spring break?
the Road Dogg Jesse James's daughter's
What?
wedding.
Shut your mouth. What?
Yes. I'll be the dog pound. in
Firstly, she's
Pensacola.
getting married. Secondly,
Yes.
you're officiating it?
Yes, I get to make them say I do.
He's busy on Sunday. He's got backlash.
Well, I mean, it's early in the day. He'll catch the private jet to the pay-per-view afterwards. See, you had no idea that, I can help. I can baptize you.
I have,
sinner.
I have, I have no needs of you.
So if
in my religious
if
life,
anybody, we can do a bunch of weddings at WrestleMania.
we're busy.
We can have the shenanigans be every dude's bachelor party.
You know,
And then Saturday morning, we can do all the weddings.
who's going to get up for that? You have difficulty every year getting up on Saturday morning after the shenanigans party. Wow. And by the way, we're looking at some very special musical acts to perform at Shenanigans.
Oh, really?
And if that happens, there's no way anybody's getting up on Saturday morning because there's going to be, there's going to be some skeeting going
Okay,
on.
I'll do the Sunday church service then before WrestleMania.
I just do it at noon.
Yeah, that's
What
perfect.
time's church normally happen?
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
You're ordained though.
Yes, but I do the Church of Super Friends.
And that's held where?
Whoever is paying to have me there.
So back to what you said you were a couple of weeks ago at Karma.
I get paid, yes.
As long as the money's on the counter, the dresser, the kitchen sink, whatever, then you're fine.
You know what?
You'll do whatever.
When they leave it on the dresser, it's a little cheapening of the event. I'd rather them just hand it to me.
Well, last time you left your wallet on the dresser and she just took it.
That was a mistake. That's
This
why
week's
now.
hot news,
That's
ladies
why
and
now I
gentlemen.
put the wallet under the mattress. I can't find it.
That's week's hot news, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up tomorrow night, another reason we're doing primetime on Friday, because it's a big night for a former WWE star, David Hero. UFC 203, CM Punk.
Oh, wait, pump the
makes
brakes.
his UFC debut.
UFC 202,
3.
the rematch,
Yeah?
the top grossing.
Where's the evidence? Did you write it
Pay-per-view.
down? Did you print it out? Is there some kind of supporting
Oh.
documentation that shows that to be the case?
I have
There
it
isn't.
here. I have it right
The
here.
last thing you should have in your hand while we're taping this
But
show
no,
is
you-
this phone,
you-
because
you-
now
you keep
at
talking.
this point, this is where he checks out, because he's going to be on Twitter responding to profile pictures. He's going to be on Instagram
No,
liking everything,
no.
and he's going to be tweeting and starting fights. So,
But this is
you
live.
can't focus. I don't believe.
I got
top
this-
what?
I got
top
this-
what? You're using elephant statistics to prove a point.
I know. I got this from Tommy Dreamer. He sent this to me.
Who?
Dreamer. Diaz versus McGregor 2 looks to have broken UFC
Looks to have.
pay-per-view record.
Looks to have. So where's the
Yeah.
factual part of that?
Well,
Looks to
it's
have. That's
just-
speculative.
It's just a whole bunch of words right here.
Yeah, so do you know how to read them, or do you need assistance?
It's 1.65 million.
Okay, and what did 200 do? As a comparative
No,
basis.
because the
what
number,
did 200 do?
It doesn't matter because this number 2 was UFC 100, which was Brock Lesnar
What did
versus Frank Mir.
200 do?
I don't know. Ask 201.
CM Punk this Saturday night, tomorrow night, gets his debut in UFC.
What do you think? Are you gonna watch?
As he goes
Are you gonna
one-on-one with Mickey Gall, who's 2 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties in the
Are you gonna
middleweight
watch?
division.
Are you gonna watch?
I am going to watch. Absolutely, I am. I am intrigued to see what kind of reaction Punk gets in the UFC. I'm intrigued to see how he does in his fight. I'm intrigued to see if he wins or loses.
What happens if he gets knocked out?
That is the question, right? And you got that smirk on your face like you can't wait for that to happen.
No, it's not true. I don't want to see him get hurt. But if he gets knocked out, he goes away. He has to.
Really? You don't get another chance? You can't lose in the United Fighting Championship?
You're not going to be on the poster.
Is he now? I don't
He's
think
one of
he
the
is.
top
Is he?
2 or 3 matches on
Really?
the card.
What are the odds? The odds for Punk were 350. The odds for Mickey Gall were
500.
350.
No.
550, 450.
Yeah. And they keep
Pretty
going-
close.
Well,
But what if Punk wins? We should speculate on that as well.
you know what?
He has a chance to
part
win.
of me hopes he does because he's the pro wrestler, but I just don't see it happening.
Why not?
He's too old.
He's too old.
Yeah.
Please explain.
Well, his body is broken down from all the years of wrestling on crappy mats, all the concussions, all the big bumps, the back surgeries, the broken bones, everything else. And he's going to go in there on the guy that has 2 or 3 UFC fights, MMA fights, who's younger, that's all he's done in his life is train for this. CM Punk has been training to take back bumps. It's a completely different scenario.
You're dismissing his training of the last 2 years with Duke Rufus here in
Well,
Milwaukee.
yeah, you know why? Because he's had surgeries, he's had to stop training. Duke Rufus is one of the best coaches in the world,
True.
and he is a legit super friend. So
We all have our faults.
I'm cheering for Punk because of Duke Rufus. You know, the Rufus brand is on him. But I just don't see it happening. I mean, I hope I'm wrong for Duke, but I just can't see a 30-something CM Punk beating a guy that's younger and stronger and has a chip on his shoulder.
Folks, WWE has announced that they are expanding the weekend's events in Toronto for Survivor Series. Much like SummerSlam, there is now an NXT event coming to the Air Canada Centre on Saturday, the Saturday before Survivor Series on November 19th. Following Survivor Series on Monday night, Raw will also emanate live from the Air Canada Centre. Now, this NXT special, which will be a takeover event on the WWE Network, replaces several live events that were to occur later this month in Canada for NXT. So is this a new formula, David Hero? It worked for WrestleMania, it works for SummerSlam.
It's going to be the big 4. WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble. Those big 4 will get the big weekends, all the big events, all the fun stuff.
So I think with that, which is a solid plan, makes all the sense in the world. I think with that, we still see a total of 4, maybe 5 events from NXT because they need to have a summer event too because that's too much of a gap between Mania and SummerSlam.
I think that the Rumble's in St. Louis this year, right?
I have not gotten that memo.
We need to go back to St. Louis if that's the case.
Right now, our travel account is in the red, so it'll be a little difficult to do that. However, we are going to be in Toronto for the weekend of events up there. I've never been to Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
I have not.
I've been talking to my dear friend Arda Ocal, and he's been giving me some pointers as to what areas to avoid and what areas to go to.
What is that Canadian for? Pointers.
Pointers?
Yeah.
Some tips, some hints, some
I
recommendations.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
And Canadian is not a language. French Canadian is French.
That's what I meant. French Canadian.
That is this week's hot news, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's go to this guy with this week's DWHS.
This week's DWHS is all about the women of wrestling. It's hard to believe that about a year-ish or so ago, you had this all influx of the hot new lady stars of NXT, when you had
the Divas Revolution.
The Divas Revolution.
Charlotte.
And right now, if you look at Raw and SmackDown brands, both of them, especially SmackDown, the girls just seem to be lacking that revolution fighting spirit. It just seems to be very uneventful, very bland.
Especially on SmackDown, I would agree.
Very vanilla. They need
Naomi.
Naomi, yes. She is the morsel in the whole thing. They need to get these women back on track. I don't know if it's the agents that they're using for their matches or whatnot, but right now the fans are starting to snore and are going to lose interest. And if that happens, we're going to revert back to 3 years ago when women's wrestling was in the toilet.
With the stupid butterfly belt, as Sasha Banks referred to it on Raw Monday night.
And I'm hoping Bayley can provide the shot in the arm, but she's on the Raw brand. SmackDown definitely needs a lot more help. I'm curious to see who they're going to bring up on SmackDown. But someone needs to help these girls get back on track. They're not as awesome as they were a year ago. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. A special programming note. Last night we had Battle of the Brands. Tonight on Friday, a special Friday night edition of Primetime. Tomorrow night we bring you Be the Booker for WWE Backlash on Saturday night. So full weekend of programming again here from the Pro Wrestling Report. And remember, as we said, big announcement earlier in the show, I'm not going to be wrestling or fighting in a matchup in a cage at House of Hardcore. And Shenanigans Orlando. Details and tickets go on sale next week at PWRshow.com. It's going to be the party event of WrestleMania weekend, hosted again by Kevin Nash.
Big, sexy shenanigan. I can't wait to hear who's all coming.
And that is this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. Folks, out here on a rainy night in Milwaukee at Casablanca on Brady for that one. This is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow night for Be the Booker.